I'll tell you what, you never know who you're going to run into at Super Bowl Radio Row. We're in Las Vegas. Where would you rather be? With Super Bowl champion Brian Billick joining us once again. Welcome to the show. How's everything going? Is Vegas treating you well so far?
It's great. And other than the rain, I came out to get a little golfing as well. And
what is going on here?
I know. I'm from California, so it's okay for me to rip them. But it's another crummy thing California's throwing at us now. They threw this, that weather they had in L.A. is coming through here, and it's upsetting my golf game.
We are from Kansas City, where it is 10 degrees warmer and sunny today.
How about that?
What world do we live in?
I know. This is crazy. It'll be nice tomorrow.
Well, one guy from Kansas City that you brought on your team in 2001 is Elvis Grbac.
Yeah.
After Trent Dilfer winning the Super Bowl, you bring him in there. I always thought of him. I kind of think that's why the Chiefs went with him over Rich Gannon, is because he's the tall, physical stature quarterback with a great arm, all the tools, maybe the tangibles, not so much the intangibles, but you can talk about that more.
Well, I thought it was a great pickup for us. People got to remember that, we were trying to repeat as Super Bowl champs. We felt like we needed more down the field presence, great physical skills. And came in and did a great job. We people forget we ended up winning the division, going to the divisional round in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
But we lost Jamal Lewis in training camp.
Mm-hmm.
So now we even more so now was going to rely on his arm. We had a great defense, but now we were going to have to rely on his arm. And Elvis did a good job.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. I mean, obviously winning the Super Bowl in 2000, building one of the great defenses in NFL history. With the game being so hotly contested today, it seems like we went through a time where in Super Bowls, especially in the NFC in the 80s and early 90s, where there was just blowouts. You guys were able to just completely run and hide from the New York Giants in the second half. So games are so hotly contested. I feel like when you got, a Chiefs and 49ers, we've seen Chiefs and Eagles last year, Chiefs and Niners 4 years ago. Man, these games are hotly contested. And we expect nothing less on Sunday.
Because they're good football teams. And it comes back to, you're right, back when we won our first championship, and then Tampa after that, New England after that, that was a time when you could win with dominant, great defense and good, solid quarterbacks. We had Trent Dilfer, Brad Johnson, obviously, in Tampa. You had a young Tom Brady. This was before he was the GOAT. So they relied on game management, run the ball, play great defense. It's because we were coming out of the Aikman, Marino, Montana, Elway years. We had not yet gotten to the Mannings and the Breezes and the Rodgers and that group. So there was a real voice. So you could win with that. Today's game, you got to have a quarterback. You got to have a guy. It doesn't have necessarily to be a Hall of Famer, but you got to have that guy. And both these teams have that. Well-crafted teams. It's going to be a great game.
Talk about Tom Brady, the GOAT there, and Patrick Mahomes. A lot of people are saying he's chasing him. How important is this for his legacy, just to go 3-1 in Super Bowls instead of 2-2? And do you think he can catch Tom?
Oh, yeah. There's no question. It's just a tincture of time. And I think they recognize that, because he has been just magnificent. I've been saying, as you size up the game, San Francisco's an outstanding team. And there's a number of elements you could put out there and say, okay, this is why San Francisco is win. But the answer, there's always a counter answer. When people, they got McCaffrey and they're going to run the ball and they're so physical. Yeah, but Patrick Mahomes. Well, but then they do that and they play action. They got killed down the field and but they got Patrick Mahomes. And defensively, they put a 4-man rush on. They don't have to build the boxes, but they got Patrick Mahomes. That's the wild card here. That's how special he is.
That was my analysis for the Chiefs-Ravens game. The Ravens looked like the better team all season long. They blew out all these really good football teams. So everything in my mind is telling me Baltimore Ravens, but then I just left it at, but Patrick Mahomes is inevitable.
And the way the game unfolded, in Baltimore, they were put in very uncomfortable circumstances. They're the team that usually gobbles up the clock, has the time of possession. And the game unfolded. The Ravens go 3 and out. Kansas City goes length of field in 6 minutes, gobble down the clock. Baltimore scores, okay? Then Kansas City on a 10-minute drives the length of the field, and then they get the turnover.
Yeah.
So it put Baltimore in the very uncomfortable position of, okay, we got to catch up. And now it put Lamar Jackson in mind frame. I got to catch up with Patrick Mahomes. That's not where you want to be.
Earlier in the season, the Chiefs went through a rash of problems, ups and downs. Receiving core was just lost, seemingly. When you have a position during season that is less than, that is in many ways failing your team, how difficult is that as a coach to make that adjustment midseason? Is it up to a player like a Patrick Mahomes, your quarterback, to rally that and to get things right? How do you fix something like that in the middle of a season? Because the Chiefs seemingly have done so.
Well, I think what it was, and when people talk about, well, the Chiefs aren't as good as they've been, I don't think that's valid. They are different. And when you're before, it's Tariq Hill and it's Kelsey and we're throwing down the field and we're doing all this and people got to keep up with us. They were a very physical running team. The personality changed, and rightfully so. Pacheco's a good physical back. And you play great defense to it. And the job that Steve Spagnuolo done, spectacular. When you play with that formula, even with the Patrick Mahomes, they are tighter margins. You're not going to have as many blowouts. It's not going to look the same way. It's going to feel differently. So they are a different team now. That's going to be the thing I look for is do they, and we saw that San Francisco had given up some runs and some physicality to Detroit. They did to Green Bay. I can't imagine that Andy Reid is not going to give them a heavy dose of Pacheco early to test that front seven of the 49ers, to make this a physical game, to buy up a lot of that clock. And then Patrick will do what he does and makes the big plays down the field. And that's going to challenge the 49ers as to if they can indeed. I'd be very surprised if we don't see them come out in a heavy dose of Pacheco in the first quarter.
You mentioned the run game. You mentioned the defense. Is that something moving forward that you think the Chiefs want to do or something they've kind of fallen into after getting rid of Tyreek Hill? I've always said, since they traded Tyreek Hill, is this kind of having a Ferrari in bumper-to-bumper traffic instead of taking it out on the Autobahn and letting it loose?
I think you adapt, and that's been the brilliance of Andy Reid. He's adapted to what the talent is. Okay, we got Patrick Mahomes. They've adapted what they do offensively, which is totally different than what he did in Philadelphia. And we got all this talent, so we're going to be this. Well, now this year we don't have that. We've got a great running back. We've got an offensive line. So now we have to be this. And that's the brilliance of the job that Andy has done. And the team has bought into it. And obviously they're in the ultimate game because of it.
Coach Billick, I want to talk about something that's really important to you and something that I think that's important to really former athletes, anyone that's suffering from longstanding pain. Now, let's be honest, your 2000 Ravens inflicted some too. So you guys are personally to blame for this.
Happy to do that.
Talk about signal relief, the signal relief patches, like you've got one there to show off, kind of how you got involved, how that works. And man, I believe that, again, that you guys are to blame for some of this, that some of those defenses you put out there may be on the hook.
And now you're helping them.
For the invention of this.
I'd have handed these out after our games to our opponents, just feeling sorry for them for that this is the real deal. I get approached about a lot of things, obviously, and this is the real deal. It's unique in this fashion. I mean, it's all about obviously dealing with prohibitive pain. The real healing comes from working through prohibitive pain. I don't care if you're an NFL player or whether you're just a hacker golfer like me that's after 18 holes of golf has a sore lower back. The key is that motion is medicine. Okay, so working past that pain. How do I do that? You go into a pro training room, there are hundreds of thousands of dollars of mechanics, of STEM machines, hydrotherapy pools, whirlpools to help the players do just that. Signal Relief is an amazing product. It's reusable, so it's very affordable. What I love about it is you put it where you need it. Okay, if I play 18 holes of golf, it's going to go on my lower back. Yeah. If I get out of the pool, I swim 3 days a week, it's my shoulder, my upper back. It helps you deal with that prohibitive pain that allows you to do the other things to kind of work your way through it. The muscles and the joints, arthritis, muscle stiffness loves inactivity. So you got to be able to work through. The more you do, the better you feel. The better the feel, the more you do it. Signal Relief is the real deal. Go to signalrelief.com. Look at the way this was developed. This is military grade. The science of it is unrefutable. You put it where you need it. It's 100% money back guaranteed. I guarantee it's going to work for it. Signalrelief.com.
Promo code
1 year.
coach.
Use the promo code coach for 20% off. And that one patch is 1 year of relief.
It does,
is this
because
right?
you have an adhesive. There's a stick that you put on it, and that's why you put it. When I play racquetball, pickleball, my elbows,
and
right?
you can just move it around wherever the next problem
I put it up here.
That's
so you
huge.
can put it where you need it. And again, it's reusable for about a year, so it makes it very, very affordable.
Oh,
Before we let you go, Coach, just something I've always kind of been interested in is coordinators getting head coaching jobs.
Yeah.
Okay, they're great at the X's and O's. They were a great offensive coordinator. They led the #1 offense. But then you bring them in, and what's that interview process like about finding out about how they can change culture and how their leadership is?
Well, that's the challenge, because no one's going to question your credentials.
Yeah.
They really don't have the expertise. They wouldn't know what questions to ask, quite frankly. They assume that you know what you're doing, whether you're on the offensive defensive side of the ball. But that's really where it comes down to. Can we identify, do you have those, can you do the other things?
Mm-hmm.
Can you deal with the entire team? Can you deal with the media? Cultivating that relationship between the coaches and the personnel. That's what you're looking for. Do you have those abilities that take you outside of that? And you're going to be right about 50% of the time. Some guys can make that transition, some can't.
well, Coach, if you were forced to, we're at Mandalay Bay right now. If you went down into the sports book and you were going to place a bet on the Super Bowl, what are you doing?
Patrick Mahomes. I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, and I was in San Francisco for a number of years, emotionally attached. I would love to see them do well. They've got a great team, but at the end of the day, I don't know how you bet against Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, NFL analysis in general may just go downhill. Do we need all these shows out here? Just
no.
Patrick Mahomes,
forget the Matrix. It's
Chris Sims.
Exactly right.
We don't need it. I'm with you, Coach. Thank you so much again.
Try to do it.
Signalrelief.com. Use promo code Coach for 20% off.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.